But welcome to our App Academy. I guess we are moving on to John from BatchMaster. Hi, John.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Are you ready? Are you ready to go?
Sure. Let me share my screen.
There we go.
There we go. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone joining. And BatchMaster Manufacturing is an add-on application to the various QuickBooks versions. And the reason why I wanted to present this to the group is because we're reaching out to pro advisors to become referral partners. So if you have clients who are manufacturers, and we'll get into the specifics, then please feel free to contact me. And today's presentation is really to give you an understanding of what we offer and why we offer it, and who potentially your clients are that could take advantage of this as well. So let me go ahead and drop that and just come into the slideshow, if you will. There we go. So we all know QuickBooks. We all know the modules. The ones that I care about that are different for BatchMaster Manufacturing is bringing advanced functionality to inventory and manufacturing. And the folks that we address are those manufacturers in the food and bev, nutraceutical, chemical, and life science industries. So if you work with any manufacturer in these particular industries, you have an opportunity to help BatchMaster sell BatchMaster Manufacturing to these QuickBook clients. And one of the problems that we found with the folks that run QuickBooks is they just can't meet up with a lot of the manufacturing requirements, whether it be inventory levels, recipe management, formulation, planning and scheduling, quality control and assurance, and compliance and traceability, because really QuickBooks doesn't address those in the process manufacturing world. So what happens is a lot of my QuickBooks customers have brought on Google Sheets, Excel spreadsheets, even third-party stock locator systems, but they just don't work. They're not as efficient. They can't streamline and scale up the application. They can't comply with changing customer requirements, nor the ever more strict government and state industry regulations. So if you ever wanted to know what process manufacturing looks like, there's a cute little diagram that brings raw materials together in a series of stages. And the interesting thing about process manufacturing is you use weights and volumes. You know what you're bringing in, but you never know what's coming out. So the batch results are always variable, and you may have byproducts and co-products. So how do you manage all the complexities in the process and the item characteristics and the inventory variabilities? Because in discrete world of apparel, industrial equipment, electronics, and all, it's pretty straightforward. But item characteristics and the variability change when you're in the food, chemical, life science, and nutritional. So a lot of my customers have called and contacted me, and they're basically being told, hey, we need to replace QuickBooks with an end-to-end ERP to give us all the QuickBooks functionality, but more advanced inventory and manufacturing capabilities. And the answer that I give is no. You love QuickBooks. I love QuickBooks. Your customers, everyone loves QuickBooks. Keep it. Consider a best of breed approach. And what that is taking the BatchMaster application with its various modules, as well as mobile execution of tasks within the warehouse, and integrate it directly to your QuickBooks. So this gives you all the capabilities, and what QuickBooks is really used for moving forward is the accounting, AR, AP, GL, and a bit of invoicing, and leave everything else over here to BatchMaster Manufacturing. And why are we different than some other manufacturing applications that you may know already integrate to QuickBooks? Well, it's because of development. In the world of batch manufacturing and process manufacturing, there's recipes, formulas, and then there's packaging. And you have to deal with the variabilities, the weights, the volumes, the nutritional target values, label claims, everything you have to do to look at a recipe and figure out, if you ever read an FDA nutritional fact panel, for example, it's got calories, proteins, carbs, but there's sodium levels, sugar levels. That's all part of development to make sure that you're developing the right type of product. And that's just food, but chemical, life science, neutral does the same thing. And then the production, because inventory is variable in the world of process manufacturing, different pHs, different grades, different fat contents, etc. Every product that is received may be different, and you have to adjust production based on that. And that's part of the inventory, is how to deal with it. There's weights, there's volumes, there's cases, there's units. How do you look at the entire inventory and know what you have on hand, what's being purchased, and what's being sold? Because they're all different units of measures, okay? And you got to convert one to the other, okay? And then you've got quality, and that's the biggest thing. Because in process world, everything is a shade of gray. There's not black and white, you know, like in a piece of electronics is either good or bad, it passes or fails. No, everything that's being batched and produced could have various levels of quality control status. And based on that, what do you do with them? How do you report it? Can you actually send them to a customer? Do I keep them as seconds? Do I rework them? Everything like that is all part of quality that a system has to be able to address. And then compliance, because that's all about health, safety, both from chemicals, hazmat, to food, from food traceability. If one gets sick, you've got to be able to track that product back into production, look at and say, who else did I ship it to? Look at the inventory, recall it, and then actually move back to the vendors in case they were the ones that supplied you with some bad ingredient. So there's, again, these are some of the specific modules that BatchMaster offers that supports the food, the chemical, life science, and nutraceutical companies. And this is just a little more detail on the variabilities, if you will, that this brings to bear. Expiration dates, nutritional values, whether something's going to explode, okay, burn your hands. Again, and because of that, there's various regulatory compliance reports. Folks that get audited, like GMP auditors that come in to make sure that they can supply all the documentation of all their production. And that's important to get certified in various, the chemical and the food, FDA, if you will, GHS, GHSI. There's a number of, again, regulatory agencies that you need to comply with for the health and safety reasons. And then, like I said, from quality and inventory, there's all sorts of strengths and grades, the ability to rework in the discrete world of making clothes or, you know, making a piece of industry equipment. You don't really work it. It's either pass or fail. In the process world, you always have an opportunity to tweak whatever solution, chemical, food item until it actually meets your label requirement. So these folks can use the system to rework, capture all that changes, or as we call it, deviations, and then report it to whoever the auditors or the agencies are, or the customers as well. And the other piece of it is losses and gains. So if you're drilling a hole in a piece of metal, either it works or it doesn't. It's with intolerance. But if you're putting an alcohol with some other ingredients into a chemical vat, a reactor tank, things evaporate. Then you could put in dough into a mixer and the dough gets caught on the blades. So again, process manufacturing for these industries requires you to understand the losses of gains based on the item itself, based on the inventory, based on the equipment you use to be able to control all of that. So quality control statuses are very important as well. So these are the cycles that we control. So again, if you're working with a manufacturing customer, they'll know these particular steps through their cycle in manufacturing between product development, planning, scheduling, production, analyzing it, and go around the circle, looking at estimates from cost through the actuals, and then through the inventory cycle, receiving, storage, production, storage, shipping. And it is at these points, the receiving, production, and shipping, that you would update QuickBooks, because that's changing the inventory GL records. The other area that's very important is how to manage the operations across the enterprise. Now, QuickBooks has a number of plugins to e-commerce, EDI, so do we. And those all feed sales orders into BatchMaster. And then you have the ability to manage the operations across multiple warehouses, multiple production sites, and multiple distribution sites. And it controls the receiving from your suppliers and the shipping to your various customers. Okay, so this is very important in this aspect. QuickBooks, doesn't really address multi-site operations from a manufacturing standpoint. So that's where we come in. And again, from a warehouse, being able to use different technologies to move inventory, to capture data is important. To be able to control the transfer of inventory across the various facilities is really important. And even going down into production, being able to capture user information, time, date, activities, look at data sensors, shop floor control, equipment out there. How do you integrate to all of that and capture the data? And then it is actionable data. How can you change processes? So overall, you've got EDI, e-commerce, sales portals, POS, feeding orders in, suppliers feeding in POs that you receive, customers feeding in sales orders that you order fulfill, and we are going to manage those multi-site operations for you. Now, one of the key things is the transactional processing, and that's between BatchMaster and QuickBooks. Again, we have to deal with the vendor, the PO, and what we're doing is updating the journal entries across the board for this receiving cycle. So it's procure to pay is part of this, obviously, and we'll take vendor information between both systems, but then BatchMaster is the one that executes the PO receiving, the inventory updates, and we're going to be updating QuickBooks in those particular journals. And then finally, the invoice generated. And you could finish up on the AP and the invoicing procedure in QuickBooks. In terms of production and inventory, we're taking the sales orders, or you can just go ahead and create batch jobs. So your client, again, will use BatchMaster to generate the production jobs. And when we consume raw material, we're updating the GL. When we produce finished goods, we're updating the GL. And if we're ever working with inventory adjustments and cycle counting, we'll be updating the journal entries as well. And then finally, you've got the shipping side of it. So customer orders are coming down, being placed into BatchMaster. Again, they could come from calls, emails, faxes. For manual entry, they can come through a spreadsheet, which could be imported into BatchMaster. They can come from EDI, e-commerce, POS, and our own sales order portal. All that feeds into the order pool from which orders generated. You can go through order fulfillment, delivery documents, invoices, and again, we're going to be updating that information over in here into QuickBooks. Okay. So what does BatchMaster do? How is this important to you and your client? Is that we do offer the various production jobs. Manufacturing solutions. We do software development, so all the solutions have been developed in-house. We implement, consult, customer support is all through BatchMaster. We don't use any third-party consultants to implement our manufacturing solutions. And we do on-site training, remote implementations, especially during the COVID period. All this was done remotely. And then in terms of business process consulting, usually the manufacturers that have used QuickBooks before, or I should say used QuickBooks plus Google Docs or spreadsheets, they're locked into one method of executing processes, because those applications or those spreadsheets can only give you almost one method, and that not necessarily the best practices method. So our business consultants come in and work with the manufacturer and not only help them streamline or scale up their existing processes, but offer solutions, options, and with our manufacturing solutions, give them a way to expand different business models as well. And then system integration, again, talked about e-commerce, EDI, POS, at the top for sales order entry, and at the lower end on the plant floor, you've got integration to weigh scales, sensors, mobile devices, etc. So from top to bottom, we're trying to integrate again and give a full manufacturing solution through one application and not a bunch of disparate applications. And then from the knowledge transfer and training, not only do we have remote training, on-site training, but we have a customer portal. And when you have that access, all the training videos are there. There's trouble logs, other forums, and all that are online for the customer. So that is available to them. And by the way, as part of the Pro Advisor referral program, we can give you connections to that as well, so that you keep abreast of what we're doing with our manufacturing solution for QuickBooks. So how do we pull in the Pro Advisors? Because we're not trying to cut the Pro Advisors out in this whole process. As a matter of fact, we're encouraging them to join us in the implementation, because the bottom line is we do not touch QuickBooks. We rely on the Pro Advisor reps to go ahead and do that and work with the customer. So working together as we go through the implementation, when we set up the configuration of the two applications, we're looking for you to help your client basically do and address a number of these topics, and you could read them yourself. But we're looking forward to working with you folks on this. And because of that, again, we've got a referral program that we could set up with you that gives you all the sales and marketing information for BatchMaster. We have the videos, like I said, we have brochures and anything that you need, even to customize, you know, a delivery to help you on a sales presentation to your client, we're certainly open and happy to do. So the bottom line is that we have, again, the manufacturing app for QuickBooks. We look for food, beverage, chemical, and nutraceutical and life science industries. And we're gonna, if you have those type of clients, I can guarantee you they're having a problem running QuickBooks to manage the complexities in both item inventory and process. And all the customers that we've dealt with QuickBooks, having QuickBooks and BatchMaster working together allow them to quickly and easily achieve some of these corporate objectives. So that's really the bottom line. Certainly, you can visit batchmaster.com. You could email me. You could find us on the Market website. And actually, if I'm going to get out of here and let me go back to, oh no, hold on. I'll just go ahead and bring up BatchMaster one more time. If I go to solutions and I go to QuickBooks, we had Liz from Insightful Accountant give a first look at BatchMaster. So this is her introduction video, and we appreciated that very much. We also, here's kind of a review of the modules. We also had the Murph give us, he wrote 3 articles for me, and I really appreciated that. And that kind of goes into a little more detail on what BatchMaster does. So certainly this is information that could be shared with any manufacturing client of yours. And if you ever need to get a hold of us, you can just either, again, just email me or contact us or request a demo with your client. And probably the most informative is we actually have a video, and it is a demo of the product, and it demos these modules and how it integrates to QuickBooks. So this is a video that so many of my prospects and customers will watch. So definitely something to share with the folks. So that is my quick overview. Again, did it just for folks that might be interested in becoming a referral partner. And if they need anything, just give me a shout.
All right. Well, John, we're going to launch a poll, but there are a couple of questions, and there are 2 questions that are kind of similar. And
Okay.
and that, do you integrate with Xero, and do you integrate with QuickBooks Online?
Not with Xero. Otherwise, I have another page for that. But yep, right there. QuickBooks Desktop, Enterprise, Online, absolutely. And both of them are in the cloud. But it doesn't matter because a lot of folks that have Enterprise have it on their local server, and we could deal with that too. So if the QuickBooks is any one of those, on-premise, local server, or a partner's hosted server, or online, we could connect to any of those.